You may not consider the black raspberry as being a very successful crop in Oklahoma, but actually with a reasonable amount of care, it can be very successful. Here at our Oklahoma Gardening Studio, we've had real good success this year with our black raspberries. This variety is Bristol, and I think one of the keys to success is, of course, choosing a variety that is adapted to your location, and Bristol is adapted throughout most of the state. And then also paying particular attention to the planting and the care of the black raspberry. You'll notice that we've got these on somewhat of a raised bed to give it good drainage, both air drainage and water drainage, and we've also got it mulched well. And that's the key to successful blackberry production in Oklahoma, is a good soil, a good planting site, and of course the proper variety. Now is the time of the year also that we can be doing some things with the black raspberries. They can be propagated through a process known as tip layering quite successfully. And late summer and early fall is the time to propagate those plants. In fact, many of our trailing types of plants, such as the black raspberry, and also some of the ornamentals such as forsythia and winter jasmine and other types that have this trailing growth habit, can be propagated by this layering method. These plants have a tendency to tip layer naturally, as you see has happened in on this particular cane right here. Late in the summer and early fall, as the canes begin to grow down and reach the soil, they will find their way down into the soil and roots will begin to form on the tip of that plant. In the springtime then, you can remove this plant from the soil, take your pruning shears or a clipper and clip it off, and there you have a new plant ready to transplant somewhere else in the garden or to give to a friend. But if you want to help this process along, you can employ 2 or 3 different techniques that will give you an added number of plants. About this time of the year, and actually a little earlier, as you can see this one has done naturally, inspect your plants, and when you see those that are reaching the ground and beginning to thin out and form what we call a rat tail shape toward the end, those plants can be buried straight down in the soil about 3 to 4 inches deep. Just loosen the soil with it still attached to the cane that it is growing on, bury that tip, and firm the soil well. Through the fall and early winter, roots will form on this tip of the plant, and new shoots will begin to grow then from the leaf axils or the buds here, and by next spring you will have a new plant there that you can clip off, as I did the one previously, and move to another location in the garden or share with a friend. Now, if you're not sure exactly what you want to do with these plants, but yet you would like to go ahead and do some tip layering, then I would suggest you may want to fill a container such as about a gallon nursery container such as this, or another large container with good garden soil or compost. Bury those in the garden and then tip layer into those containers. Again, choosing one that is healthy looking, has the rat tail effect, bury it into the container, much like we did in the soil. And then fill in around that container to give it some protection against the winter temperatures. Then next spring, when the roots have formed and the new shoots begin to grow, you'll have a plant that has already been containerized, and you can then clip it off and keep it in the container for several weeks, or as long as you may need to till you choose the spot where you want to put it in the garden or how you want to share it with someone else. Now, one of the things that I like to do is somehow mark these plants that I've tip layered so that I won't forget where they are. Something like a surveyor stake, or just a garden stake, or a piece of colorful string or rag will work just as well by just simply tying that on the cane that you have buried, so that next spring you'll remember where you have done this tip layering procedure. And as I mentioned, there are a good number of ornamental shrubs that have this trailing habit, such as the black raspberry, that can also be tip layered in this way. And there are other forms of layering that we can employ on other types of shrubs and small fruits in the garden, such things as simple layering, which simply means taking a branch of the plant or a limb of the plant that has grown this season, laying it flat on the ground, and then burying it with soil in various spots so that roots may form along the node, and then where roots have formed, you can cut these off and have several plants in that manner. Now, black raspberry does not simple layer nearly as easily as it tip layers, but there are other types of plants that will do that. And if you want some information on how to layer these types of plants so that you can propagate them, then you may want to write us at Oklahoma Gardening. We can provide you with some information on layering ornamental and fruit plants, or you may want to check with your local county extension office. But at any rate, I think this is a good way to get a new start of plants for your garden or share them with a friend.